All right, let's talk about something we've all seen happen. A massive capital project, a really smart team running it. They hit all their targets, and yet somehow investors are still disappointed. It's one of the biggest mysteries in business, what we're calling the competent failure. And today, we're going to get to the bottom of it.
I mean, this is the million-dollar question, isn't it? The team is working their tails off, milestones are being checked off the list, the budget is, mostly under control, but when all is said and done, the value, the whole reason you did the project, just isn't there. You know something's fundamentally wrong, but it's impossible to put your finger on exactly what.
So when things go sideways, where do we point the finger? Well, usually at the obvious stuff. We see cost overruns, we see schedule delays, and we blame bad execution. The common thinking is, if only the team had managed the delivery better, everything would have been fine.
But what if that's the wrong story? What if the failure was baked in from the very beginning, long before a single person was hired or a single piece of equipment was ordered? The real culprit, as it turns out, is often a series of bad decisions made when the project was just an idea and a powerful, invisible force called commitment was building up in the background.
To really understand this, we have to start thinking about risk in a new way. See, it's not just one big thing. There are actually two totally different kinds of risk you're dealing with in any major project. So, let's break them down. First, you've got execution risk. This is the one we all know. It's the risk of going over budget or missing deadlines. It's tangible, you can see it, you can measure it, and honestly, most organizations are pretty good at managing this with contracts and project managers and all that. It's hard, for sure, but it's manageable.
And then there's the hidden killer, commitment risk. This is the risk that you lock your company into a specific path based on a bunch of assumptions that later turn out to be completely wrong. And here's the terrifying part. Once that commitment is made, it is almost impossible to undo. All your flexibility just evaporates.
So let's put them side by side. Execution risk is all about delivery. It's visible, you can wrestle with it, but commitment risk, that's about the decision itself. It's hidden, it's irreversible, and it's way, way more dangerous. The problem is, most companies spend all their energy fighting the visible enemy, while the hidden one is quietly sinking the ship. So how does this sneaky commitment risk even happen? Well, it's not some big dramatic moment. It's a slow burn. It's a quiet accumulation that happens through a bunch of totally normal, even well-meaning activities that happen way before a project ever gets a green light.
And this quote it nails it. Spending a little bit of money on early studies and designs feels safe, right? The dollar amounts are small. But the decisional risk you're taking on is huge. Every little step, every report builds momentum and narrows your future options until the final decision feels like it's already been made for you.
And you can see how it happens. It's this slippery slope. It starts with a little early work, which creates momentum. People get excited. Then all that activity gets mistaken for actual learning. Pretty soon you've got a formal project on your hands before you've even seriously looked at other ways to solve the problem. And by the time you get to the big approval meeting, the commitment is already set in stone. This distinction is absolutely critical. Are you actually learning, or are you just making progress? Learning is when you reduce uncertainty in a way that could actually change your mind about what to do. Progress is just doing stuff, finishing tasks, creating documents. When you confuse the two, you end up with a project that looks really mature on paper, but is built on a foundation of sand. This leads to another huge mistake, getting the sequence all wrong. You have to explore your options first, keep multiple paths on the table, understand the real trade-offs between them. Only then should you pick one and turn it into a project. What happens way too often is that one idea gets crowned the project way too early, and all the work after that is just about defending it, not choosing the best path forward. And here's where the psychology of it all gets tricky. That little bit of optimism you need to even start a project, it starts to harden into this rock-solid confidence. But is that confidence earned by testing your assumptions against reality? Or is it just the confidence you get when everyone in the room agrees with each other? That second kind is incredibly dangerous because it makes the whole team blind to new evidence that contradicts the plan. So all these little things, the slippery slope of commitment, the confusion between learning and progress, it all points to a massive systemic flaw. There's a fundamental mismatch in how we oversee these big investments. Just look at this chart. This is the smoking gun, right here. Your ability to actually influence the final outcome of a project is enormous at the very beginning, when you're just kicking around ideas. But where do we put all of our intense reviews and scrutiny? Way over here, during execution.
at precisely the moment when our ability to change course is almost zero. It is completely backwards.
And this quote just lays it all bare. It perfectly sums up the problem. We put our strongest fences at the bottom of the cliff instead of the top. We apply our toughest controls at the exact point where they can do the least good. And the result of this whole mismatch? By the time a project gets to the board for that final big dollar approval, it's not really a choice anymore. The momentum is just too powerful. The meeting becomes a ceremony, a rubber stamp to confirm a decision that was really made informally months or even years ago.
Okay, so that sounds pretty bleak. What's the solution? Well, the good news is the answer isn't some new complicated process or another 100-page manual. The way forward is really about a shift in perspective. It's a new way of seeing.
Look, the whole point of this diagnosis isn't to pile on more bureaucracy. It's to give you a vocabulary. It's about giving you a new language for these patterns that, if you're an experienced leader, you probably already feel happening in your gut. By giving these things a name, like commitment risk, we can finally start talking about them out in the open.
And that brings us to the most powerful takeaway here. It all comes down to asking better questions. Here are the questions you can start asking in your very next meeting. Are we really learning here, or are we just busy? Is our confidence actually based on evidence, or is it just groupthink? Are we still choosing the best path, or are we just defending the path we're already on? And who's on the hook for the assumptions we made way back at the start?
So I'll leave you with this one final question to think about. That next big approval meeting you have on your calendar, when you walk into that room, ask yourself this. Are we here to make a real choice between real options, or are we just here to confirm a decision that was made a long, long time ago? The answer might just change everything.